The Mueller report, its future, what it may hold, what it's all about. Joining us, East Bay Congressman Eric Swalwell. You are on the House committee that is called for this. You want it on Tuesday. The Attorney General says it's going to be a couple of weeks. What's the story?
Well, we're going to see every word, every period, every comma of it. It's just a matter of whether we see it now when we want to see it, or if we have to go through the courts. I believe because of the magnitude of this investigation, we should see it immediately. And just because the president has been cleared criminally doesn't mean there's wrongdoing that we shouldn't hold him to account on, or at least protect our national security from.
Now, I'm interested on the timing of this. We're talking about a 400-page report. And I'm a person that asks for these reports all the time. And if you ask the Justice Department to redact something, they basically hand 10 people 40 pages or 4, you know, the different things and say, let's go at it. It doesn't take weeks to do. Why the delay?
I think it's mostly to protect the president. That opinion letter that Barr wrote was a protection for the president. So this is a 2-year investigation, 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants, 37 indictments, 6 guilty pleas, 84 words quoted from the Mueller report in that 4-page indictment, that 4-page report. And that 4-page report was 15 pages shorter than the audition letter that Barr sent.
Are they holding it back, do you think, so that the temperature drops? Because, I mean, a lot of the air has gone out of this tire.
Well, it's going to come back, because I cannot imagine that 400 pages plus whatever exhibits they have are going to make the president look good.
Okay, so the question that is open isn't so much on Russian collusion. It is on whether or not the president's conduct when the investigation began obstructed justice, correct?
No. So I think that he may not have colluded in the way that it meets the beyond a reasonable doubt standard in the criminal law, but if he asked the Russians to keep hacking, his family took meetings with the Russians at Trump Tower, he is doing a Trump Tower Moscow deal that he didn't, he wasn't straight with the public about, that still is concerning from a national security, potentially compromised standpoint. So we need to know about that from a counterintelligence standpoint. Then yes, on the obstruction of justice piece, no person is above the law. And again, we were quite skeptical of how the Attorney General clears the president in the obstruction of justice piece when Mueller was appointed to get rid of the conflicts of interest with the politically appointed Attorney General looking at obstruction of justice. Why didn't Mueller make that decision? That's something we want to know.
Okay, so going forward, the Attorney General says there's nothing indictable. All right. As Congress, you can't do anything about that.
Can't do anything about that. And I accept that in a rule of law country.
Okay, the next thing then becomes impeachment. And that would be something that would be under your purview if you found things in here that are impeachable.
So I'm on the House Judiciary Committee. That would fall under our responsibility. I think the most important thing we can do right now is just make sure the rule of law still stands, and then look at whether any impeachable offenses occurred. We're not there yet.
Okay, and as far as release of the report, you want it all, right? Or
want it all.
What about the business of redaction, stuff being blacked out?
Yeah, so there's 4 categories Barr said he would not turn over. He would not turn over grand jury material, he would not turn over ongoing investigations, he would not turn over classified information, and he would not turn over, this is the most concerning, anything that hurt the reputational interests of peripheral persons. Now, if we're talking about administrative assistants who talked about their bosses or their schedules, et cetera, that's fine. But to me, Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, if they were involved in any way, people like them, we need to know about.
Okay, and that is the idea, and that's the call. And if they don't produce it, what are you going to do?
Well, the president's outnumbered now. We have the subpoena power and also a judiciary where I think the precedent is on our side.
Okay, can you stick around? Because I'd like to talk to you also about breaking news this week about the future of the border. The president is talking about shutting down the border. Your response?
Well, that's not leadership, that's showmanship. The real issue that I see is that you have folks in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala who are fleeing poverty, fleeing violence, and a president that we have right now just uses this as a political issue, but is unwilling to work with Mexico, other South American countries to address those underlying issues. Don't go to the border. Go beyond the border if you want to address this.
Well, he's talking about possibly cutting off aid unless they get a grip on these caravans heading north. I mean,
that's not leadership, though. I mean, leadership would be working with them in a constructive way. Perhaps it's a Marshall Plan in our lifetime for those areas. But if we don't address why those folks are leaving, why a mother would walk through a hot desert with her child with very little food and clothing to come present themselves at our border, if we don't understand why that's happening, we're never going to solve this problem.
Well, when we talk about, Central America and South America, it's a double-edged sword in America. On one hand, we say, well, let's give them a Marshall Plan and help them. And other times they say, no, when we go in there with the military or something like that, we shouldn't be involved in there. Should we get involved in the economy and the politics of Central and South America?
If we don't want, thousands of people every day presenting themselves at our border, I think we do. And it actually, I think, in the long term would cost us less than building a wall that Mexico will never pay for, or the humanitarian needs that we have to present there on the border. So that's leadership. This president has been unwilling to do that, but I think we need a president who will go down there.
Do you think Obama showed leadership on that issue? Or because some people say that he was just quietly ducking it.
Well, this issue has obviously, it's been challenging for many presidents. I'm saying the next president should go beyond the border.
Because it's sort of this, the issue has changed in this situation from people that are here illegally already, what to do with them. Yeah. That was the initial thing, and that was what we were talking about Obama. Now we're talking about this wave of people rolling up here, and that wave that many people denied was happening, it really is happening.
Yeah, but again, address the humanitarian crisis as people present at the border. Make sure we have resources in the courts and also just the aid that people need. But again, Phil, if you don't understand why someone would be willing to walk thousands of miles to get to the United States, then you're never going to address the underlying problem. And I'm suggesting that the way the president is addressing this is just, he's making it a political issue, but he's not actually doing anything.
Okay, speaking of political issues, do you see this playing into the presidential? Is this going to be one of the lead issues that go ongoing?
I don't accept the premise that this is a lead issue. And in the midterms, Democrats didn't accept that either. We ran on health care, jobs, and rooting out corruption. He dangled the two I words, impeachment and immigration. We didn't take the bait. We won a majority in the House.
What do you see as the issues facing presidential contenders, and possibly yourself?
Healthcare. It's the #1 issue. And I've seen going, across the country, across my district, that for too many people, their healthcare plan is the charity of strangers. So you see these GoFundMe accounts all over the Bay Area where someone gets sick and they don't have a healthcare coverage plan they can count on. They need you to click that link, send $20 their way. That shouldn't happen in the United States of America.
And Democrats appear to be facing a wide variety of choices. What do you think would be the thing that Democrats are going to be looking for in the primary season?
Coverage for all, which is, to me, a public option that puts pressure on the private insurers to bring down the costs, but not to miss the opportunity to find the unfindable, solve the unsolvable, and cure the incurable. Invest in cures in our lifetime. Imagine if we'd taken just half of that $1 trillion tax cut that the president gave, where 83% of the benefits went to 1% of the people, and put that in data sharing, genomics, targeted therapies. Look at every Alzheimer, cancer, Parkinson patient in the eye and tell them we're doing all we can in this generation to bring down the cost, extend life.
We only have about 10 or 15 seconds left. You've been traveling the country, talking with Democrats. What are they looking for?
They're looking for someone to go big, be bold, and do good. I see myself as someone who can do that. I lived, I grew up as the first in the family to go to college, 2 young kids under 2, paying off my student loans. I see these folks, I hear them, and because of how I was raised and the policies I would offer, I'm for them.